Israel and Iran have traded strikes for the first time since a ceasefire was agreed in April. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said the attacks are the beginning of a full week of continuous strikes. So is this the end of any ceasefire agreement?
The Israelis started this latest round of fighting, which is in danger of breaking the ceasefire for good. When they attacked southern suburbs of Beirut yesterday, going after Hezbollah positions. The Israelis, of course, have also moved massively into southern Lebanon, 10 kilometers beyond the Litani River, which used to be the kind of dividing line for any Israeli control. So they've done this despite the fact that President Trump has urged them not to do so. And the Iranians have always threatened that if the Israelis encroach further on Lebanon and Hezbollah, they will then retaliate against Israel, which is exactly what happened yesterday. 2 massive barrages of missiles overnight against Israel. No one was killed or injured. All of it was shot down by the Iron Dome and various other defensive systems. But the extraordinary thing was that then Donald Trump went on the record in a sort of flurry of telephone interviews with colleagues, including the Financial Times and Axios, saying, I call the shots here. They don't call the shots, as in they being the Israelis. If I tell them, I'm paraphrasing here, if I tell them to stop firing or not to fire, then they will. I'm more or less pleading with them not to retaliate to the Iranians because we're so close to getting a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz and end this war that, by the way, I started on the 28th of February. Lo and behold, a few hours later, the Israelis do exactly what Trump asked them not to do, which is to fire a barrage of missiles against various targets, I think about 6 or 7 targets inside Iran. Now we wait Iran's response. I think, if you want to sum up the last few months, it has been 3 lessons which have been taught the American administration. The first lesson was a lesson in geography, thanks to the Strait of Hormuz. The second lesson was a lesson in the limitations of American superpower when it comes to a resilient rump regime in Tehran with, very few leaders or weapons left, but enough to create a lot of damage. And the third lesson, which it is learning now very painfully, is that although it funds Israel and it supplies Israel with life-preserving weapons, America has no absolute power over Israel. This is a lesson that America keeps having to learn over and over again in the most painful ways, but arguably this one, because Trump has been so public about it, is the most painful lesson yet.
Yes, and it's hard to understand his strategy here, why he is being so public about the level of control that he has over Benjamin Netanyahu, when clearly he has very little control over him at all.
Well, this is something you can ask about anything that Trump does. Trump likes the sound of his own voice. He barely shuts up. He's incontinent with self. And what happens then, of course, is if you boast a lot and if you air everything out in to full public view, people will judge you by it. Whether that's boasting that he can, shut down universities or muzzle the free press, or indeed win a war against Iran, or control the Israelis. The minute you start boasting about stuff in public, it's out there, and people will judge your words by the reality that you've helped to create. And that's, I'm afraid, where he falls down. It is something that, his advisors, from his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, to Marco Rubio, when he can find his voice, which is not every day, have prevailed upon him ever so gently to stop doing. Put away your phone, sir. Please don't text in the middle of the night. Don't go on WhatsApp or on social media at 4 a.m. It's really bad for you. It's bad for the country. It's bad for the policy. But he's not listening. And of course, he is surrounded by a circle of sycophants. And hardly anyone has the cojones to tell him the truth, let alone to tell him to shut up. And so off he goes.
So where is the relationship between the United States now and Israel? Because it feels as though it has fundamentally shifted and changed. What's your view, Matt?
Well, I think my view is that, excuse me, Claire, my view is that just as Donald Trump has come up, against the limitations of his own power, Prime Minister Netanyahu has done the same when it comes to his own cabinet. So ever since October the 7th, Netanyahu has had to listen to a small number of really quite vicious extremists, the security minister, Ben-Gvir, the finance minister, Smotrich, who keep his coalition in power. And as soon as the Iranians fired their missiles yesterday, Ben-Gvir, who was once, expelled from the IDF for being too extremist, piped up and said, we want Tehran to burn. There has to be some kind of response. And of course, a large part of the Israeli public will be with those ministers. On the other hand, it would actually suit Israel to try and stop, some of the fighting, you would have thought, and not to provoke the destruction of any kind of deal between the United States and Iran, because like everyone else, they're also running out of weapons. They need some kind of stability. They need a deal at the end of the day. But Prime Minister Netanyahu, perhaps because he's facing an election in October, an election that he might well lose, which would end up him possibly serving some jail time for allegations of corruption, which are being contested in court at the moment. He feels that it's better to carry on. You don't switch a commander-in-chief in the middle of a war. And also, to be fair to him and to the Israelis who have a completely different view of the Iranian regime to the American administration, let alone the American public, for Israel, Iran is an existential threat. Iran refuses to name Israel, call it by its name. It's just a Zionist entity. It wants to destroy Israel. And the Israelis want to destroy the Iranian regime. So you can see why they think that any deal that comes up now that is only about opening the Strait of Hormuz is unfinished business, which they want to finish.